My name is Jay, and I'm a visual designer at Google. My formative years, I think, were really focused on photography and filmmaking. I had aspirations to become a filmmaker and be on the next Star Wars movie. And of course, I instantly learned that I needed to know a lot more software if I really want to get into this field. So I started becoming a freelance designer and kind of picking up odd jobs and teaching myself the software along the way. So I kind of took a non-traditional approach to getting into the industry. When you're looking for your first UX design job, it's easy to focus in on a company that you admire. But I think especially early on, what you really want to look for is that culture. You want to make sure that you've got strong mentors, strong leadership, people with vision, people that understand what they expect of you and what you can expect of them. Because at the end of the day, your first few years are extremely formative. You're defining who you are as a designer and what you love to do. So interviewing for your first UX design role, it's really exciting. I think there's a lot of things that people focus in on. They focus on the work, they focus on the craft. They want to make sure that their portfolio is strong and clearly reflects who they are. But I think it's more about showcasing three specific things. First, it really is about how you got from concept to launch. It's not about what you launched, it's more about how you got there. So as a UX manager, the things I'm looking for when it comes to how you launched a product tends to be more about how you adapted your idea throughout that process. But what we love to see is a designer have an idea, test it, get in front of people, and then adapt and change and refine and define that problem greater. So it's that adaptability kind of throughout the design process that we're really looking for. The second thing is passion. We really want to know what you're passionate about. When you come into that interview, I think the more you can show what areas of the whole design process that you're passionate about, the better we can help you with your career, the better we can actually push you forward and fit you with the right team at the right time. I think the third thing that you really want to showcase is what have you learned along the way from project to project, and how has it influenced the next thing that came along? So take a step back, really understand your own personal journey. What do you love about design? What do you love about the process of creating a product? What do you want to learn next? Where do you want to see your career go moving forward? All of these things, I think, will help a UX manager not only understand the impact that you can make in a new role, but they can also understand how to influence and help shape your career so you can actually grow as an individual and make the career jumps that you really want to make.
Have you ever been in a situation where someone's trying to get to know you and you don't know how to describe yourself? Or have you ever felt like you went on about yourself for way too long? We've all been there. That's why when you're interviewing or networking, it's important to be prepared with an elevator pitch that describes who you are and what you're looking for. An elevator pitch is a short, memorable description that explains a concept in an easy to understand way. The idea is that you only have the attention of your audience for the duration of an elevator ride, so you have to be able to communicate the concept quickly and succinctly. For our purposes, the elevator pitch will focus on who you are and what makes you a unique and valuable UX designer. So what's needed in a UX designer's elevator pitch? Let me share an example of my own elevator pitch. It includes a lot of info, so let's break it down into sections. There's the intro. It details who I am and a bit about my professional background. I'm Paolo, and I'm a user experience designer, manager, leader, and educator with 25 plus years of experience designing products and services across several industries and all consumer platforms. Next is the most applicable part of my background that I bring to this job opportunity. I've contributed to the consumer user experience of billions of people through my work on YouTube, Netflix, Mercedes-Benz, Zynga, and Xbox, as well as the business enterprise experience through my work at Microsoft, Oracle, and IBM. After that, I add in what makes me excited to be working in UX and showcase my passion for the work I've done. I love being able to make technology useful, usable, and beautiful for people globally. And last, I communicate why I'm interested in working for Google. Google's mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. That excites me both as a designer and as a longtime user of Google products. Always come to an interview with an answer for all of these questions and an elevator pitch that communicates your qualifications for that specific job. Once you create and start using your elevator pitch, you'll see its value in all types of situations, not just when interviewing with potential employers. I can't promise that an elevator pitch will get you out of an awkward social situation, but you will be more prepared when an interviewer asks you to tell them about yourself. Take a moment now to come up with your own elevator pitch using the template I just shared. Good luck.
My name is Karthik, and I work as a UX designer. I grew up in a small town in India called Nasik. It's in the western part of India. So this was like mid 2000s when internet was really new for people in India. Even it was new for me. Um, I was someone who would find like some new cool things on internet and then share it with my friends. So whenever they faced any like technical problems or any tech issues or whatever in computers or internet, they would come to me. So I used to do Yahoo search or something like that and find a solution, and I would tell them the solution, and they were like, "Hey, you're so cool. How you do that?" And then I was like, "Yeah, that's my magic." I used to help them build their e-commerce website. I just started this thing to solve people's problem in tech. Later, I realized that I became something what today we call as UX designer or product designer. That was how it all started, and that's where I am right now, helping people and solving their problems. Preparing for interviews is tough. This is something I have gone through a lot because when I was preparing for interviews, even before joining Google, I was really new. I was a new grad. I did not have enough real world projects. There was an advice which I saw from Dropbox CEO. His name is Drew. He said, like, let's say if you want to work at Dropbox, you would you would see how Dropbox works, what they do. Is there something problematic in Dropbox, and how would you solve that? This creates an impression that you really care about that company, and also it shows that you know how to work on real world projects. I'm a big fan of like WhatsApp and how they work and how they design their products. So I found like, hey, how can I make this product better? So I made a case study on my portfolio like, hey, this is how WhatsApp works, and these are some problems that WhatsApp has. And I showed like how I would, as a designer, would solve that. One more thing that helped me a lot when I was preparing for interviews is like practice talking about your work, or maybe talking about yourself. So I realized that I should practice this with someone who doesn't know me or doesn't know about my work. So that's what I did. I connected up with a lot of people online. I used to just send them a note, hey, I'm a junior designer and I'm looking for so and so, and I'm practicing for interviews. So would you mind just doing like a mock interview for me? And I thought people would not respond because they are really senior folks working in different companies, that they would not have time. But on the contrary side, people are really helpful, and then they would have all these set of questions which I would have never thought, like that oh yeah, he's looking at my work from different angle. That's why I would say, like, if you do a lot of mock interviews with like some real designers in other world, then it will help you to, like, have that confidence when you go for like real interviews.
As I mentioned earlier, during your second round of interviews, you may be asked to present your portfolio. This is your time to shine a spotlight on all of your design work. If you've been asked to deliver a presentation of your portfolio, there are many approaches you can take. Your interviewer might even have a set structure for you to follow. But to bring this concept to life, here's an example of what a portfolio presentation during an interview might include. First, introduce yourself and your background. You can keep this brief. Share your name and a short description of your educational or work background using a warm and friendly tone. Second, present your most important or relevant case study. Clearly state the user you designed for and describe the user's goals and pain points. You should also explain how you use the design process to help solve the user problem. UX designers should always put the user front and center, so you want to showcase this in your work. Then, explain your design process in order and draw attention to the deliverables you created. As part of this, you'll want to describe how your designs were tested at each stage and the improvements you made to your designs based on the insights from your testing. You should also be sure to share lessons learned. Recruiters and hiring managers are looking for someone who wants to learn and grow. A great way to show this is by calling out things you do differently the next time around. Third, if time allows, you can present an additional case study. Fourth, present any pre-assigned design exercises. We'll talk about design exercises in more detail in the next video. And fifth, invite questions from the panel about the information you presented. Keep in mind that the interviewer's job is to ask questions to learn more about your thought processes. So don't be surprised if they have a lot of questions for you. Now that you're ready to present your portfolio, remember to keep calm and confident. You've reached one of the final stages of the interview process, and you deserve to be in the room. You've done amazing work, and showing confidence in your design choices will make you appear more professional. When you're done with the interview, thank everyone for their time and for any insights they might have given you about your work or design process. Finally, it's also a good idea to follow up after your portfolio presentation with a thank you email that includes a recap of your qualifications and your interest in the position. You might not get a response, but it's a good habit to get into as you interview. If you don't have contact information for everyone in the interview, you can always send a message through whoever your company contact has been throughout the interview process. Portfolio presentations can be tough, but they're a great opportunity to celebrate your skills and accomplishments. The best practices we've covered will help you communicate who you are as a designer and the unique qualities that make you an asset to potential employers. Check out the course readings for more information about how to ace this type of interview. Job interviews for UX designers often include a practical demonstration. Whiteboard interviews are a popular way of conducting these demonstrations. Whiteboard interviews get their name from the erasable writing surfaces that are used for teaching and planning that you see in so many classrooms and offices. During a whiteboard interview, you'll be given a design problem to solve in real time using a whiteboard, so that interviewers can observe and learn about how you work. This kind of exercise is a chance for interviewers to watch you work in action, which can help them assess your knowledge, thought process, design capabilities, and communication skills. Usually, as you come up with design solutions on the whiteboard, interviewers will ask questions about your process. Interviewers might even join you on the whiteboard as they would with a colleague. The goal of this exercise is to simulate a real-world work experience. The interviewers want to put you in a situation that tests how you engage with colleagues, manage the stress involved with questions and debate, and respond to the pressure of designing based on constraints they'll provide. A whiteboard interview might be one-on-one with an interviewer or with a panel of interviewers from different parts of the team that you'd be joining. So, you might be wondering, how can I prepare for a whiteboard interview? Well, first, do your research before the interview. Any problem given to you during a whiteboard interview has to be limited enough for you to make meaningful progress in a short amount of time. But it also needs to be open and ambiguous enough to allow for your unique perspective to come through. Make the most of sites like Indeed or Glassdoor to research examples of whiteboard interviews and get a sense for what they're like. There are tons of examples of whiteboard interview questions online. Remember the prompt generator from Sharpen that you used to select your portfolio projects? All of those prompts are similar to whiteboard interview cases you might be asked to design. Second, practice thinking aloud. During a whiteboard interview, you'll need to describe each decision you make and explain your reasoning. Remember, interviewers want to understand your thinking process, so you need to share what's on your mind. Your ultimate goal is to be able to accurately describe your thoughts without getting lost in the details. Thinking aloud can feel a little awkward at first, so it takes a lot of practice. A great way to check how well you can think aloud is to practice answering a whiteboard interview question and record yourself. Then review the video to check whether your logic and explanations are clear. The third tip I'll share to help you ace your whiteboard interview is to clarify your task. Pay careful attention to what's being asked of you. After an interviewer gives you your task, repeat it back to them to be sure you understand the instructions, the goal, and the constraints. This is also where you can ask for clarification before you get started to make sure you fully understand the challenge. These types of interviews often create ambiguous conditions on purpose to test how candidates react. After you receive the design task, start whiteboarding your design process where you feel most comfortable. For example, if you identify a shortcut in the research information provided at the start of the interview, don't worry about following every step of the design process we've shown in this course. While you often want to go in the order of the design process, empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test, you don't always have to follow this process from beginning to end. Remember, at any point during the whiteboard interview, you can ask questions. If you want to know about use cases, edge cases, or even the general demographics of your target users, it's best to ask questions and adjust your design from there. Here's an insider tip from my perspective as an interviewer. One of the most important questions to ask is to clarify who the user is. That's a great place to start your whiteboard exercise. And last but not least, always be confident. During a whiteboard exercise, you're in your element. Everything you've learned throughout this program will give you the tools you need to solve these problems. You get to take the design process you've spent so much time practicing and put it into action. Keep in mind, you wouldn't have gotten this far into the interview process if the employer wasn't interested in you, your skills, and your creativity. So use this time to wow them. So you now know a few tips and tricks to help you ace a whiteboard interview. You've got this. There's one last thing that I think might help you prepare. Let's discuss the criteria upon which your whiteboard exercise will be evaluated. While each interviewer is totally unique, here's a list of common questions that your interviewers might be asking themselves during your whiteboard interview. What questions did they ask before starting? Do they know the user they're designing for? Does this product design fit the guidelines given? Do they think too independently, or do they rely too much on the team's help? Are they truly brainstorming, or are they focusing only on one design? Are they addressing the core problem of the exercise? How well do they communicate as they design? Is this someone who can work well on a team? I know that these whiteboard interviews can feel intimidating, but I can assure you that there's nothing to worry about. Explaining your design process is something that you'll do throughout your work and career as a UX designer. In the real world, it's important for team members to know the thinking behind each other's designs, so they can more easily collaborate and decide on design solutions. So, it's important to feel comfortable describing your thought process while designing, both for interviews and beyond. Now that you're starting to get the hang of the whiteboard interview process, let's talk about take-home design exercises. During a take-home design exercise, you'll follow a similar process as a whiteboard interview, but you'll do the work on your own and from the comfort of your own home. You might have anywhere from 12 hours to multiple days to come up with ideas for design based on a specific prompt. Just like with a whiteboard exercise, you want to pay careful attention to what's being asked of you and clarify the task if needed. Read the instructions thoroughly and carefully. After the take-home design exercise ends, you should be ready to present your design solution. In many cases, you will be asked to present your take-home design exercise as part of your second round of interviews or in front of a panel of interviewers. And that's it. Using what you've learned thus far, you should be ready to handle almost any type of interview you come across. Before moving on to the final part of this course, take some time to prepare for interviews. The more time and effort that you put into preparing, the better the interview will go.
Hi, my name is Juan. I'm a visual designer at Google. How I prepare for an interview? This is the most important thing that as a designer you need to learn. It doesn't matter how good you are in design. You need to learn how to speak in front of others. You need to learn how to sell your ideas. And sometimes we make a lot of mistakes. Even me now, I still learning about speak in public, how to sell idea, and how to prepare myself to talk. One of the things that I do all the time is read, double check and double check. Sometimes we make mistakes even in typography. I know we are designer, but we need to take care in a small detail. because when you present, sometimes people just focus in the negative thing, in your mistakes. So, and we as a professional, we need to make sure that we don't make mistakes. Another tips that I mentioned to my friends is always ask questions, be curious. It's not about that the company wants to know you if you deserve the job. It's about they want to know if you really want to work with them. And sometimes when people come to a Google interview, they feel very intimidated. In my case, struggling with the language, I never have a degree in design. When I went to the interview, I asked questions. And of course, part of my research was to learn about the people that are gonna interview me. I want to learn what kind of thing they do for the company. And based on that, I focus my conversation. If you need to talk in an interview with a designer, focus the conversation in design topics. Ask questions about design. If you need to talk in the interview process with an engineer, ask questions about engineering things. You don't need to know about engineering, but you can be curious and say, hey, when you develop a project, what's the first thing that you do? And be curious. If you don't get the job, this is another tip. Sometimes you feel sad, oh my God, I didn't get the job, I need to work, and you want to quit. Don't quit. Send a follow-up email. Ask the recruiter why you didn't get the job in a friendly way because you want to improve for the next opportunity with other company. If you get the job, the same, send a follow-up email saying thank you for helping me in the process. Maybe to learn what you did well. It's really important to send a follow-up email after interview if you get or not the job.
When you complete the certificate program, which you're very close to doing, I want you to have all the tools necessary to find a great job. Lots of UX designers find work with companies in need of long-term design solutions. Other times, UX designers find work on their own as freelancers. A freelancer is a person who is self-employed, runs their own business, and isn't committed to a particular client long-term. A lot of organizations rely on freelancers as part of their workforce. It's very common for companies to hire designers to work on projects that end once the project's goals are achieved. The freelance designers can then work on other projects with other clients. Once you've worked with a client, depending on their needs and how happy they are with your work, they could turn into long-term recurring clients. This offers some additional benefits that can make freelancing easier, such as having to spend less time finding other clients and developing contracts. So, let's talk about why someone might choose to become a freelancer. First, being a freelancer means working for yourself. You can choose to work only with certain types of clients or projects and decide your work hours. Although working for yourself also means you're responsible for marketing, finance, operations, and all other business needs. For many people, the flexibility of freelancing is important. They may have health concerns or family responsibilities that make full-time roles difficult. Or they might just feel more productive working hours that aren't supported by traditional office environments. This flexibility means freelancing can be a great option if you find yourself between other types of employment too. Second, freelancing is a great way to expand your portfolio. It's totally normal to be working on lots of short to medium-term projects that span multiple project types and industries as a successful freelancer. This helps you build a diverse portfolio quickly. depending on the number and variety of your clients. Third, freelancing gives you a great opportunity for networking as a designer. When you freelance, everyone you meet is another opportunity to promote your work, get new clients, and expand your network of working professionals. And finally, being a freelancer is a great way to grow your skills and knowledge of UX design. With each opportunity, project, and connection comes a new set of challenges to learn from. Now that you have a good idea of what it's like to be a freelancer, let's explore how to start setting up your freelance business. In the next few videos, we'll cover creating a
My name is Jennifer, and I'm a user experience research manager at Google. We work with folks called product managers who are responsible for setting the strategy for products. I work with engineers who build the products. I work with designers and other researchers. We collaborate in many different ways to collect insights about customers and then to translate those insights or things that we learn about our customers into new products and new features that help people do their job better. I had a very untraditional path into UX, but in fact, I find that many people in UX have somewhat untraditional backgrounds. So I actually studied engineering formally, but I always had this very strong interest in people, technology, and the design piece. But it took me a while to find my way into user experience. And my path in between those two areas involved me starting out in engineering, and then I explored marketing for a little bit, and then I moved on to freelance consulting, which really pulled me knee deep into a user experience. And that really set me on the path towards user experience more formally. As a freelancer, I initially started out doing many different things for organizations. So I was doing project management, I was, helping them with office management as well, but then also helping them with websites. And as I got better and better and got more clients, I started to specialize more and more in just the user experience portion, just websites or web-based applications. And so what that looked like is I started out with one client. Eventually I had 3 or 4 clients, usually 2 to 3 clients at a time. Everything that you do as a freelancer is a tremendous growth opportunity. And you fundamentally make the choice about all the projects that you work on. And so you have this opportunity to really try a variety of projects. Many of the times they could be projects that are outside of what you're very familiar with. So that's one opportunity. Another opportunity actually is the opposite of that. As a freelancer, you have the opportunity to specialize. I had a background working with nonprofits and social enterprises. And so while I did do work for many different kinds of organizations, I found my special niche really working for nonprofits and social enterprises. And that community really gave me the opportunity to build my network. The scariest thing for me as a freelancer was getting started. I had pretty much been used to having standard traditional jobs most of my life. And even though I did side projects here and there, for me to take that leap and be completely dependent on freelancing was a big stretch. And so that idea of leaving behind kind of the security of a stable, regular income was really, really frightening. But at the same time, the opportunity of trying to do something solo, trying to do something where I could pretty much pick the kinds of projects I wanted to target. I could learn and grow in any direction that I wanted. All of those things really kind of offset the fears that I had about making this major leap. Take on as many projects as you can. Variety really is the spice of life in this domain. There are so many different things you learn from each and every project. It's very important as a designer for you to have a good portfolio, a portfolio that demonstrates the breadth and depth and the height of your work. And the only way you can get there is by taking on as many projects as you can.